Yeah, what's up, everyone? This is Dan from Rebellious Noise, and I am here today with a preview of Money in the Bank 2020. And I am joined by Scott, Rob, and Lucas. How you guys doing? All right?
All good. Ready to climb that ladder.
Ready to climb that corporate ladder this time? So the way this is going to work essentially is we are only going to go through the announced matches. So anything that's officially announced on WWE.com, we will be predicting who we think is going to win each match. So, boys, where are we going to start? Let's go with SmackDown and the women's title between Bayley and the woman who there ain't no one meaner than, Tamina.
Okay.
Throw it out there.
Well,
go first.
It probably seems one of the most obvious, but then maybe because of that, it's not. I guess maybe should we do like who we want to and who we also think? Because I want.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, like I want, but in this case, it's both the same. I want Bayley, and I think it will be Bayley. I've said before that I quite like Tamina. I don't think she's as bad as some people make out, but WWE never actually. They seem to pretend to push her, and then they don't. So I think it probably is going to be Bayley.
Okay.
What about you guys?
So I think it's going to be Bayley because I think they're going to build up to the Bayley Sasha feud finally that we should have had about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. However, I'm sick of Bayley with the title. Like, she's not doing anything to make it relevant. Whereas with Tamina, yes, maybe she won't do the same thing, but at least it's someone refreshing and someone new with the title. So if she loses it, and she could be just a carrier for someone else to take it off them.
Like the transitional kind of champ.
Yeah, like Cena was at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I mean,
a while ago.
Like, would you see like maybe a cash in on the night again? Because I think we've seen that quite often in recent years, especially with the women's. Like Bayley did it last year on Charlotte, I believe.
I mean, it's great to see that, but then the minute it's cashed in, we then don't have a cash-in tease from the women for ages.
Yeah, it was exciting a few years ago when we had never had that, and now it's happened. I'm like, I don't really want it. You know?
Like, just hold it for a while.
Yeah, because I love that feeling of like, it could be tonight. Like.
Weren't you there, Scott, with the Ziggler one when Ziggler?
I was, yeah.
Like, oh man,
just went bloody crazy.
Yeah, it was incredible, man. Like goosebumps, mate. Get like the Rock goosebumps.
I bet.
But yeah, incredible, man. Like, because you kind of, it's one of those things, and you'll know, like from watching it at home as well. Like you're just thinking, if that music hits, and especially at that time because Ziggler was, incredible. He was on a roll. But yeah, and exactly that, mate. That's why I loved Money in the Bank. Not only the match, but the journey that briefcase goes on.
Yeah.
Definitely. How about you, Lucas? Who do you reckon for this one?
See, I'm going to say Tamina. I think it's her time. I think there's no reason for her to have a title match at this late stage if she's not going to win. I think that with there being no crowd, it is going to help that decision because they're not worried about a backlash from a live audience. And I think that Bayley needs to return to being a good girl face again. I think it's not working. It's not worked. And I think if they are to do the Sasha and Bayley feud, I think it's better with Sasha being the villain because she already kind of has the internet's hate, which obviously extends to when they go to obviously some of the smarter crowd cities like Philadelphia and New York. And I think it's just they might just do it, even if it's just Tamina and she had it for a month, and then just say she's done it. I think she's 41 now, and I think she's been in the company now for 10 years, believe it or not. It's been 10.
Yeah.
I think it's 10-year anniversary for it, like in a couple of weeks, and I think they like stuff like that. It's like when Curtis Axel won the IC title on Father's Day. They like a feel-good kind of story.
When it suits them.
When it suits them. They missed the boat with Lacey Evans.
Yeah.
Because she's got the story of the daughter and she's Marine and all that kind of stuff. But I think, I'm going with Tamina, and I want Tamina too because I think Bayley's had it for so long, and it's not going anywhere. I mean, and Sasha and Bayley won't need the belt because they've been on the main roster for
I think that's one of those. It's one of those feuds. I think that's kind of it's kind of bigger than the title kind of thing. History from NXT and stuff like that. And it's one of those feuds that it doesn't need the title, but then it's one of them is like you say that you think Tamina's going to win, but would it be because of like maybe a Sasha interference or or a lack of Sasha interference to
set things up,
to help it kind of thing? So right, so now it's me. Bloody hell! So I've heard what you guys have had to say. Now comes my part. I'm going to go. Nah, that creates cash, mate. So, as much as I feel like it could be Tamina's time, I think Bayley is going to win. I'd like to see Tamina win, but I think Bayley will retain.
Yeah, it feels like what Lucas was just saying. That I think that should happen.
Yeah.
But then mixing in what kind of realistically does happen usually. I think this is a good time to do it. If Tamina is like a transitional champion and she even has someone like Lacey Evans chasing her as the babyface, then I think that'd be quite good. But I think, I kind of feel like the same as you, Dan, though. It might not.
So I mean, they've got quite a few challenges that are like not even in the Money in the Bank match. You've got people like Naomi who, I'm surprised that she wasn't actually in the Money in the Bank. Naomi versus Tamina feud, that would be pretty cool. Because Naomi would be able to carry a really good match out of her as well. So,
but are they maybe saving people who are going to be in the title picture to not be in the Money in the Bank match, perhaps? Because they want fresh feuds afterwards.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, especially at a time where they're limiting how many people they're using as well. So people will seem a lot more fresh if they haven't been used, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, so what if Tamina was to win, and then there was allowed her to be a lot more dominant in her matches, build something. Whoever was to beat her after that would have that on them, so that they beat Tamina, who couldn't beat no one else could beat.
A big bad Tamina,
up,
I think Lacey Evans would fit that bill.
Perfectly.
I think she could be the sympathetic babyface who triumphs overall, and do you know what I mean? Like with her kind of motivational character.
With them all of their nasties, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. So, because she has got one of those characters that does, can flip, like you say, like the nasties, the heel, don't come near me, and all that kind of stuff, which is quite apt in a moment. But I think she also can do the sympathetic babyface, so I think she'd be good for that.
Cool. So on that note then, let's stick with SmackDown and we go on to the Tag Team Championships, the Fatal 4-Way match with the champions, the New Day, versus Miz and Morrison, hey, hey, ho, ho, versus Lucha House Party, who Rob's representing with his Lucha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Rob, what's your new Lucha name? El Robo?
We need to call, I don't know, like Los Mascadores or something.
Los Mascadores. And I can't remember the other team as well. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Hey, did you do it on purpose?
Of course I did. Forgotten no more, mate. There we go.
Nice. Okay.
So with this one, essentially, it was meant to be the Usos, but obviously with Jimmy getting injured and
Rob's heart.
Oh, I was so distraught when I read that news. I was like, oh, why? I was quite annoyed.
But I suppose the good thing that's come out of it is obviously the Forgotten Sons getting the. We don't like to use the phrase "call up" to the main roster, but they got a move from NXT across to SmackDown.
Yeah,
and they slot into this scenario quite well. Anyone see them actually going and winning the titles, or
if they did, would it be too quick?
Possibly. Yeah.
I think that was my only thing. I was like, I like the idea that they're, as you said, not being called up, moved across to another brand, but I think they're still trying to develop them and make them important.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing. When you have someone new and they get thrown into that situation straight away, there's either make or break, and 90% of the time, exactly. And a lot of times it's a lot of break rather than make.
Yeah, I think for me it's probably out of New Day or Miz and Morrison who comes out of it. I'm not a fan of them when they keep flip flopping the titles around all the time, and obviously New Day have only just won them. I mean, for me, I'd like to actually see. I think there's going to be a New Day retention. I'd like to see a New Day retention. As I say, because I don't really feel that they're going to change him so quick.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think as much as I actually want Miz and Morrison to have the titles, I think they lost them too quick because I like them coming back as a tag team because I used to love the dirt sheet and all that stuff. So I really like them as a team, and it gives them both something to do, even if it isn't the way I would have brought Morrison back, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I don't like the hot potato in the titles, and the New Day have had the title so many times anyway. I love the New Day, but like I've said, like on the Talking Beans podcast over the years, like I'm not a fan of the Freebird rule either, so that kind of doesn't work in that favour. And that's added to why they've been champs so many times. I think we need to calm down with all the quick reigns, and I think annoyingly that means I think it should stay on the New Day, even though I think it's Miz and Morrison that should be going forward with the titles at the moment. But I can see it probably staying on the New Day anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys?
So I would say, obviously, if the Usos were there, then you know that would be my pick. Unfortunately, they're not. However, the Lucha House Party haven't had a run yet. And the thing is, no matter what they've put them in a situation, they've done the best as they could. To keep
that chamber match, they were really good in that.
Do you know what I mean? So, even to go back as when it was just Lucha Brothers with Kalisto when he done a Salida del Sol off the ladder, on through a ladder. They've done enough, I think, to warrant them at least
put the work in,
have an opportunity. So I want to see the Lucha Brothers, Lucha House Party, win it, but I reckon New Day retain him.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I've come to the same conclusion, really. I think going on my basis that I said Tamina would just win, I think to have Lucha House Party have the same kind of win for a similar reason of they've been around a long time, let's give them the belts. I don't see them doing two of those. So my prediction, I've got Tamina doing that spot, so to speak, and I'll say, I don't see them changing from the New Day. It's interesting though they're doing tags. They seem to be doing a tag story after releasing half the tag teams. they did nothing with
good ones
for
as
literally
well,
a year,
just to rub it in.
Really good ones. And yeah, I'll be down for. I don't know why the New Day are champions at the moment. I'm kind of with that too. I think the only thing they're chasing now, obviously, the Dudley Boys 9 reigns, isn't it? I think and 9 total reigns to WWE, which I guess they're going to break at some point, probably this year. So the only other thing I think they could do, they could. Yeah, they might. They might give them back to Miz and Morrison, and then obviously build up to New Day winning them back, and potentially when there's fans tie the record.
I think it's because do you think they were punishing Miz for the WrestleMania thing? Do you think they see him as the reason that Roman missed Mania kind of thing? Because apparently he did.
Potentially.
And that's probably,
who knows?
That could be why they took them off them in the first place. Because I don't think they needed to even lose the titles. It's
especially after putting all that. The rumors that he weren't going to be at WrestleMania, and then being confused when we knew it was taped, and then he showed up on SmackDown, and then all that back and forth, and I don't like. Yeah, I mean, I've said it time and time again. I don't like these weird things. For me, a tag title match, just the two guys, not Freebird rule, not one guy representing. Yeah. But we dealt with that. We did it. Cool, you did it, and then you made it mean nothing by taking the titles off him anyway. So what was the point in that? So, I think it weakened.
I kind of get a feeling that they did it because it was a first, and WWE like these firsts. It was the first person now to win a tag title without their tag partner, along those kind of lines. And I think as well with it, I think a lot of it with it not being a crowd, they are kind of throwing out some of this stuff they wouldn't have done usually. Because if they had a crowd, definitely if they had a crowd, they wouldn't have had that Mania match the way they had it, and they wouldn't even had the Raw tag title match at Mania was with Austin Theory, who, it's just such a massive scale up to go from unknown on an NXT couple of matches to WrestleMania, a tag title match, even though it's a lower card match. But yeah, I don't see the New Day not winning here, but I'd be open for any of the other three teams, to be fair, because there's new stories that way. But I don't see them really going that route, in my opinion.
I think a big thing, as you just said, though, was when you said about the Freebird rule, would be the Forgotten Sons are a free, Lucha House Party also a free, and New Day. So if the New Day get it, then technically the Freebird rule will still be there if they allow it to carry on. So the thing that you just said about we're dealing with that rule will still be in effect because there's the 3 teams that are there are still as a trio.
Yeah, they could do. Yeah, it's starting to get like when they had remember when they used to have that gang warfare storyline in like '98 when yeah, feels like we're getting into that territory again. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
not Aces and Eights. What are they called? Eight.
DOA.
That's it, DOA. Yeah,
DOA.
Just waiting for 3-man band to come back now.
Oh,
we can
one
dream.
day. One day.
2 of them, haven't we?
Bring back Slater. Okay, so the final singles match for the SmackDown side of things is the Universal title. As far as we know, it's Braun Strowman versus Mr. Rogers style Bray Wyatt. There's been nothing to say that it's the Fiend. It just seems like regular old Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. Universal title. Who are we going for?
Well, much like what Lucas was saying earlier about the like things they wouldn't have done before, basically. Obviously, they were kind of forced into booking Braun Strowman as the champ. And again, I've said for years, like they needed to just tell us how we should feel about Braun. Do you want us to think he's a main eventer or not? You know, because they kept pushing him and pulling him back. So give him the title. If you've done it, again, I'm not a fan of short reigns. Just keep it on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I do agree. I feel like Strowman was in the right place at the right time to win that title off Goldberg. But what's the point in him losing it to Bray? If he's going to lose it to Bray, he should lose it to The Fiend. As Dan rightly said, at the moment, all we know is that it's Bray and not The Fiend. On the night, maybe that's different. They flip that. But Bray, as Bray, can take a loss and not make a difference. The Fiend, however, can take the loss, but it needs to be done in the right way where he still looks strong, as they've done recently.
You mean like taking a dodgy jackhammer and getting pinned in the middle of Saudi Arabia or something?
I mean, I won't let that loss be fine. Any other? I mean, I'll take the toolbox attack from Seth over that. But yeah, I just feel like the Fiend could be more protected in the right way. Bray technically doesn't matter, in my opinion, if he takes a loss. Just keep it on Braun.
Yeah, I've come to I think Braun is going to retain. I'm not too sure. I think there's going to be some shenanigans going on in one of the world title matches. I'm going to say that it might happen in this one actually, because I guess they're going to set up a rematch. And I think obviously the rematch will be with the Fiend most likely. But Bray, what's interesting is Bray still beat The Miz, didn't he? As Mr. Rogers Bray. Back in what pay-per-view was it? Late last year during the whole Daniel Bryan Miz Fiend whole thing, and I think that's interesting because it shows that they still treat the character Bray Wyatt as still quite a threat and is still something to be scared of. So I think they might want to protect him a bit by giving the non-finish / the nonsense they like doing in this one. I think like what you said, Scott, I'm not a fan of these short title reigns. I think obviously Braun got himself into this position and I'm glad for it. And I think with him signing a new contract last year to stay, I think for them just bounce the belt off him for no apparent reason.
Yeah, they've damaged his character a lot. They can't do it again, you know?
Yeah.
So although I want Bray to continue to be built, I just don't think this is the time to put the title back on him because of what they put themselves into already.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think it's one of them. I think they should have initially put the title on him back when Roman had to give it up first time, and when Brock beat him. Was it in the Saudi Arabia match? Was it the one in the cage when it was like the dodgy finish or something? And I just think it's. In all honesty, I'd like to see Braun just go on a tear and just, hold the title for a while. I think at least until like Roman comes back, unless until there's fans back or something. And I think it'll obviously play as well into like whoever wins the Money in the Bank. You think like on the SmackDown side of it, there's feuds obviously that are there that they could go with, but. Yeah, I think definitely a Braun retention here. As you were saying, I think it's as Rob said earlier, the whole thing of like Bray Wyatt could take the loss and it wouldn't damage him. But then the Fiend, not so much. So Bray Wyatt, for me, I think will lose it. I don't think it's going to be like a squash as such, but
no.
I think Strowman will go over clean in this one.
Clean. Okay.
Clean. Okay, so now we've finished up on the SmackDown side of things. Let's move over to Monday Night Raw. And Raw kick off and finish with their only match of the entire pay-per-view. And that is the WWE Championship between friend of the channel, Drew McIntyre, who me and Scott recently interviewed. So go back and check that out, rebnoise.com. And he is facing the Monday Night Messiah, Seth frickin' Rollins.
I can see your pick on your shirt, Dan.
No, it's just clean, mate. It was the only clean thing, so it's like, might as well.
All right, well, I guess I'll start things off here. I'm going to continue with what we've basically been saying all along. Don't take the title off people that just won it. So, and definitely for this one, I think this one is the most important for that. Keep it on Drew, keep it on Drew, keep it on Drew. Not much else to say. I think they'll be sensible with it.
The only other thing I think they could even do with it is, I think if they were going to have Seth win it, then it would be a case of have Seth win it so that then Drew can get his big moment when the crowd...
I've changed my mind.
SummerSlam, maybe.
Possibly. I would like that.
In front of 10 people at SummerSlam.
Ooh. Is that ticket sales or legal?
I don't know. You was at home. So, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got it down the same way. To be fair, like as Scott was saying, I think the world title matches. Like I said, I went for the Bray one, having the kind of no contest shenanigans kind of stuff. This one could also, because I mean we've got Murphy with Seth, and they made a really big deal out of that relationship on Raw this week. You know how he's the disciple.
Yeah.
But I just don't see, and I guess Seth did lose at WrestleMania, has lost the tag titles. He didn't have the best of showings in the Rumble. So I am thinking there must be something down the line for Seth in this Messiah kind of gimmick. But I don't think now's the time to do it. I think sadly they've obviously had to book matches based on who was available, and annoyingly they booked a really big match, which really none of them should really lose. In my opinion, you know, Drew and Seth are both kind of mainstay players for Raw. And I still think that, I mean, Dan, you said about the SummerSlam moment, I think that might have been the plan like before, but we are looking potentially at a longer no fan period potentially. And so I think that wouldn't now cross their minds to think, okay, August is going to be okay for SummerSlam in, it was maybe Canada, wasn't it? It was Toronto, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, not really. There's no time frame, so I think they've probably got used to being like, you know what? I'd imagine anyway that they've got to the point of like, let's just book for now. Let's stop thinking about the moments and the future. And like you say, it is a big match. I'd love to have seen this. It is a shame it's happening kind of early. It feels because the whole disciple Messiah kind of, you know, silliness. They could really go somewhere with it where Drew is like really having to overcome the odds and all that. But I think it's a bit early.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hope Drew retains. That's what I want. At the same time, though, if Buddy Murphy gets turned inside out with a Claymore kick, I'm happy. You know, I'm more than happy to see that. I think my only issue with Drew at the moment is he's still doing a countdown for the Claymore kick. Like the audience are there, and I'm, you know, just kick in with it. I don't need the countdown.
Gotta get it over, brother.
Yep, it's already over. You know, I'm not counting with him at home, but
some people are, mate.
It's so the referee can remember. That's what it is.
Oh, that's my bit coming up. Yeah.
That's it. Okay. As soon as he hits this and he's on the floor, I know. Okay, 1, 2.
But other than that, Drew needs to win. Like you said, there's no point hot potato in a title, especially something that needs credibility at the moment. And I think Drew can bring that to that title. He's done so well so far with the circumstances. So let him have a run with it.
It's been very impressive, I think, as far as not having fans there. He hasn't let it get to his performance at all.
No. Yeah. And I mean, I think the thing with Drew as well is I think that he's one of these people that he can carry the company at the moment. You know, he's like physically, he's in great shape. He's great on the mic. You know, he's just got that aura of him as a champion. And the fact that he's facing Seth Rollins, and it is a big match quite early on in the title reign. And I'm thinking, if they're going to have Drew win it, let him beat Seth. Let him go on, you know, and beat big names. So it's all right doing a long title reign and you're beating like people from like the mid card, you know, with all due respect to them guys. But then for him to go in first title defense against Seth Rollins, former champion, former Universal champion, you know, to come out of that with a big victory, you know, and the fact that he's overcome the odds by, you know, with Murphy there as well. You know, I think that for me, it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be that Drew's just going to destroy him quite quickly and quite cleanly, or it will be something where Murphy will try and get involved and potentially accidentally get Seth disqualified. Thus, then neither man has to physically take a pinfall.
It's a good way out of it.
Yeah, it doesn't harm either guy. That means Seth's not got to like cleanly lose, or Seth could win the match but not win the title, and then that'll be he's like, Good impression. Means he can have a bit of a whinge up on Raw. Like, well, I didn't lose the match, blah blah blah, and then that obviously will set up.
I think sometimes, like as you just said, that makes the perfect sense because it then gives time to give more of a build to the match.
Exactly.
You know, because like that way, you're right. Neither guy won. However, they're both important still, so they didn't take an L. So as you said, like it can build more. I mean, if we get a Seth Rollins aggravating chuckle at some point as well, that'd be great for the feud. I love that heel laugh. It's so good.
He does that. So he does play that character so well.
I think they're best off keeping main titles on the people they've got them on, and if they are to flip-flop the lower card ones, because I think it's too risky at the moment, and there's no kind of benefit to anyone winning a world title in this climate. Obviously, they were forced into it at Mania because they had the belts on part-timers. But it would have been, like I said, that would have been interesting if the belts weren't on part-time. What they would have done, I think they would have just kept the belts as they were. Because I think it's just not good business having main championships change hands out of crowd, in my opinion.
I think that's a good point. If you do the lower titles, then at least you still give that impression that the big ones could change, but they probably shouldn't. I think you're right. They probably shouldn't because there's no benefit of it at the moment. But then if it's going to become, remember like Insurrection and Rebellion where you're like, no one's won the title, it's fine. Apart from that time British Bulldog won the hardcore title. But other than that, you're like, it doesn't matter. Like after a while, I remember, being a kid and starting to think, these shows don't really matter. And then being like, it kind of took it away. Insurrection, and Rebellion, say 02, 03, I started to be like, I'm not too excited anymore as I was in 99 and 2000. So it's like with a house show when they've had like, what was it, AJ a few years ago win one. I think if you do a few here and there, it's good because we don't want to get to a stage where we think it is just like a UK pay-per-view or house show where nothing's going to happen. And I think you're right. Having some of those lower card titles change hands still gives that illusion that the main titles could, but it's probably best not to.
Yeah,
they've got enough belts as well. With respect, I mean, they've got enough belts to do that with. The IC in the US. I mean, they've got those as well, which are a bit more prestigious, but not as prestigious as having WWE Championship change hands at no fan shows. I think the only thing that would probably force their hand would be an injury, sadly, which obviously I hope no one gets injured. Well, Jimmy Uso has done, but I hope no one gets injured. No one else gets injured, sorry, in front of no crowd, because that's very, very sad.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason they do it.
And I think as well the fact that, you know, in my opinion, you can't have Rob Gronkowski hold a title in WWE longer than Drew McIntyre. So,
Good point.
Very true.
So now we move into the Money in the Bank matches themselves. Now, I'm not sure really how I'm going to do this because I'm going to just announce the men's participants, the women's participants, and we'll just go on a tangent however we want to do this. So for the men, on the Raw side, we have Aleister Black, Rey Mysterio, and AJ Styles. On the SmackDown side, we have Daniel Bryan, King Corbin, and Otis. On the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, we have on the Raw side is Nia Jax, Asuka, and Shayna Baszler. And on the SmackDown side is Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so am I right in thinking that these matches are apparently happening at the same time as well?
Yeah. Well, from all the pictures have shown that on the top of Titan Tower, they've got a ring set up and both briefcases are suspended above the ring together.
Right, okay.
And they announced it on SmackDown that both matches will start at the same time. So I think it could be something where it could cause a strange finish. Like, something I was actually thinking about earlier myself, and it's really out there. And that's something along the lines of Otis could climb up, get the women's briefcase to give to Mandy as like, oh, there we go. Like, Mandy! And just give her that. It's like, and then she opens it and obviously packed lunches inside and that. And
yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, if the two matches do, like, somehow, like, a man helps a woman or a woman helps a man, like, I'm going to distract this person while you go grab them both and then give me my one. Like, you could see some crazy stuff like that. I think, you know, these crazy times we're in at the moment, this is a great way to do the Money in the Bank. The Money in the Bank is great on its own anyway, but I think this is a really interesting way to do, kind of like how they did with Mania and the Boneyard match, to do these kind of pre-recorded, over-the-top things. And I think... yeah, as far as like who wins them, I'm not 100% sure, but I do like the idea of it. And like because they're selling Titan Towers, aren't they? So they're moving out of it in a few months if all things still go to plan. Maybe things will change now, but you'd like to think there's not really anyone working in the offices anyway, and they've just gone, you know, because of what's going on, then they've just gone, well, we've got this area, like this is the one time we could use it before we get rid of it. Let's do it. And like I'm sure we all remember that great Attitude Era advert, you know, so I think we've all got that in our heads as to what to expect. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to these matches. Like, I love Money in the Bank anyway, like I said, but yeah, here I just well, I'll let you guys touch on stuff before I pick a winner. I think,
I mean, to caveat something, it's very strange. There was apparently an announcement on Raw that said that next Monday, so the day after the pay-per-view, essentially, Becky Lynch is going to essentially call out the winner of the women's Money in the Bank. So
I'll be like, get over with.
Yeah. So essentially, is that them then saying, okay, so the winner's going to be someone from Raw, which would then narrow that down to Nia Jax, Asuka, or Shayna Baszler?
Possibly, yeah.
I don't know, because they keep flip-flopping their rule of this. They made a big deal on, I believe it was Raw, of saying that the person only gets to choose from their brand. But as we know in the past, we've had CM Punk change brands. We've had, obviously, occasions where it has been men and women, and they've just gone to whichever brand they want. But generally speaking, it doesn't make any sense. Because the contract, I mean, it does say your brand champion. I don't know. There's seem to be no logic to it. You know, how they want to do it.
I mean, I know what you're saying, but at the same time, Charlotte was able to go to NXT.
Exactly. But who's to say they're not going to cash in on Charlotte?
But they do, don't they? They change all the time, because remember, it used to literally say a champion of your choosing as well. Like, so they kind of change how they feel like with all these things. You know what WWE like, but yeah, I think it's tough because we're looking at it in, like, you know, both of those points of, like, you know, on Raw they said this and they tried to push this down our throat. So it's like, is that legit or not? Or do we ignore that completely?
Well, before the Money in the Bank matches were even announced, like participants, I had Sasha winning the women's Money in the Bank, and she hasn't obviously qualify for it. And before they announced it's taking place on corporate towers and obviously pre-recorded, I was assuming they might try another Lesnar thing of obviously having a last-minute replacement. But now obviously it's pre-recorded, and I guess like they were worried about that getting out. And so it seems that the kind of normal rules are kind of out the window for this match. In terms of something Dan said before, I think they flirt with the maybe a man trying to help a woman and vice versa. But I think after the reaction to the Ellsworth thing a few years back, I think they're going to have to stick to the person physically has to get the case. Like, and because even at Mania, didn't they? The titles, Morrison dropping the titles thing. I think they really. I don't think they want to do it again so soon.
A bit sloppy.
Yeah, it's getting a bit. It's WWE. It seems they like once they like if something works once, they have to do it 10 times, and then it gets to the point where it's just silly. Like we're saying about the same night cash-ins as well. It's happened twice with the women, back-to-back years, I believe. Because it did work when Kane did it a few years back, the first time I think. And
was that against Mysterio, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was off about an hour, wasn't it? And Ambrose did it in the night when all 3 Shield members were champion at one point. And that worked. But I think now they're like, okay, we have to do it every year. No, like just call it. And the same thing with this. I can't pick a winner for the women's now, honestly. Because obviously Becky has made a point of saying that she would challenge the winner, and she even said that before this, and she hasn't obviously had a match or been kind of on Raw for a few weeks now. It seems like they're making a big deal out of this being a return. But I don't think the point of because she said that it has to be a Raw superstar. I think there's still a potential for the women from SmackDown, even though I think the women from SmackDown are a weaker field than the women from Raw in this match. I still think that it's open for any of the 6 people to win.
Exactly. And going back to your point about you saying that you thought Sasha Banks might win, could they maybe do something like you're saying they did kind of with the Brock Lesnar thing last year, with maybe her taking, say, like a Dana Brooke or a Carmella out of the match beforehand? Maybe something like that, or something could happen in like the Bayley Tamina match. So, if the 2 of them are...
There's potential, because I think they have obviously got a couple of weak links, especially on the SmackDown side. People who, as much as I like Dana and I'm up for newness, like we said in the Tamina thing, in the Tamina Bayley match, I think it does get to a point where there's just a lot of people on because they're new, or because they haven't done it before, because they're just about. And I think someone like Sasha deserves, not deserves actually, I don't want the internet to hate me. Someone like Sasha, I'd argue would be more, potentially more deserving of the story than anyone else. Lacey Evans would be my kind of somewhat pick. Like I said earlier, I think she's got the feel-good story. But because I feel that in the men's Money in the Bank, that's going to be Aleister Black, who's a face. I don't think they'd do both faces. I think that would kind of be a bit bad. It's a villain thing, I think. It suits a bad guy. It's such a bad guy move. The best cash has always been with the villains, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I already have a prediction for the women. It's the men's that I don't have. So, for women, I would say Nia Jax. Clearly, one reason would be because the whole internet would, I think, just erupt. They'd be so angry.
There'd be no network subscriptions left.
So Nia, and I mean, bearing in mind they didn't really deal with the Nia and Becky situation, that'd be something that's great. And Nia would be such a great heel to tease the cash in when you least expect it.
And that's where that all started as well, wasn't it? The whole like the Becky Lynch thing, and the fact that she's gone like full circle from it. She's she won the title last year at WrestleMania. That when me and Scott were in attendance for that, and that was since then essentially she's not lost the title. So for Nia Jax to then be the person to potentially take it off of her, it would be like, well, you've already tried to like end me once with a punch. Now you're trying to end me with like cashing the Money in the Bank thing. So I can see that working.
I think the current, strangeness of the strange situations and that changes this a lot as well, because like I've always said, you know, the Money in the Bank needs to be someone that's breaking into that main event. That's when it's the best. And like Lucas said, when it's the heel as well. So you combine those two things, and for me, that is Shayna Baszler. And they've kind of hot potato what they were going to do in her as well, which is what I was really worried about. And I kept saying before, at Mania, that's the match that should have, you know, changed hands. The title that should have changed hands, because the heel could do it. She was going around saying, I don't need the fans. It doesn't matter. It's not about you anyway. Whereas I felt like Drew would have really benefited from the fans. I'm glad they did it for Drew, like I mentioned, you know, when we did our podcast. But I really do think that Shayna Baszler, I'm worrying they're missing a boat with her. And I don't think, like, she should have won the Rumble, first of all, and she didn't. And then they made up for it with the Elimination Chamber and the incredible showing they gave her there. And then she's missed her crowning moment. So to now waste her, you know, if she gets the briefcase, we're back where we was a month ago. You know, as much as I want it to be her, because I want her to get that moment, I feel like they've just delayed what they were going to do already, and they didn't need to delay that one. Another shout, I think, Nia Jax is obviously coming back into prominence as well. Lacey Evans, like we said, especially if Tamina wins it. But I'd like to see Asuka. I think Asuka's building back up as well, and she's literally been the star for most people in this period anyway. So I'd like to see it be Asuka.
Yep.
But I think they'll go back to Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, I think Shayna would probably be like the so-called the easy option, I think. But then for me, I'm of the impression with Shayna that they're gonna basically portray her as one of these people that will, you know, I can just take the title whenever I want to, pretty much, like as if to say that she doesn't need the Money in the Bank briefcase. But I think for me, because I'm gonna go for somebody on Raw to win the men's side of it, I'm gonna probably say someone from SmackDown will win the women's one. Yeah, I probably would say maybe a Lacey Evans, you know. That, like, going into it, I was probably thinking along the lines of Shayna or Asuka, but then the more I think about it, it's like, you know, they've built Lacey up and that, and you know, I think that she's come on leaps and bounds, especially like her in-ring work has got a lot better now, and I just feel like, I feel it's going to be her time, you know. And then obviously they don't have to necessarily waste the opportunity as well. You know, they've got a whole year essentially that you know, they could build something for her. You know, whether it's they build to next year's Mania or something, who knows?
I think she fits that mold of breaking into the top of the card as well. I think it is kind of getting to that time for her as well. And I'd like to see, like, she might do something gimmicky with a briefcase as well. You know, she might style it out as, like, you know, fit in with that kind of like pin-up girl kind of vibe. I don't know, you know, like you could do something interesting there. So
I thought her a little matching like lunchbox one.
I mean, if you're saying that, can Otis do that with a massive ham?
It's not going to be nothing like Brock Lesnar's boombox.
Nothing will beat that.
All right, should we move into the men's then? So okay. A lot of you guys seem to have picks already. I'm still going through it in my head, so I'll let you guys go first again.
On the men's for me.
Oh,
go on.
Yeah, on the men's side of things, okay, I think Aleister Black will win it. I don't want him to though. I think who I want to win would be Rey Mysterio. I think it's the only thing he hasn't done. Okay. I mean, injecting AJ Styles into the match was an interesting thing for me, because I was like, okay, he is like a possible contender also. But I don't know. I feel for the feel-good moment, it could be good having Rey have it. But obviously, and I'm worried that if we're going to have Lacey on the women's side as well, that's again two faces with a kind of feel-good kind of story. It's interesting for me that they've kind of stacked both matches on the Raw side. I feel have contenders who don't really need it to be able to elevate their careers. Obviously, Rey and AJ are both obviously veterans of the business, been around a long time, and could just effectively do a Roman Reigns Goldberg. Yeah, I want a title shot. It's like, okay, we're there already. And same thing on the women's side with obviously Asuka being a former champion, Shayna Baszler's quite legitimised already. And Nia Jax, I'd argue she's just able to go, well, I'm big just give me a title shot. Whereas on SmackDown, then they've gone for kind of people who are a bit more out there, I'd argue. You got Otis. Is it Otis, Daniel Bryan? Who's the other person from SmackDown? King Corbin.
King Corbin, yeah.
King Corbin.
He better not win it, mate. He would be unbearable.
I mean, he's already king of the ring as well, which you don't need to give him this as well.
I mean, the only thing is, you know how they're all about first time ever. He could be the first person to ever win Money in the Bank twice and not cash in, lose.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I want to happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Corbin. I think I'm enjoying the way his character's changed and evolved over the past year, but I just don't think. I think the Money in the Bank thing has sailed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's long gone. And I think there'd be no benefit to doing that, apart from him being the only villain, kind of, in that match, I believe.
Well, you said...
Oh, AJ, sorry.
Well, you said, the idea of the Money in the Bank is to elevate someone, right? Well, if all the other guys are quite credible, then it only leaves Otis.
Which I really, and I can't stress this enough, really don't want to see.
Oh, no, I love Otis.
No,
I want to see
think he's
a caterpillar on a
but
worm.
I just don't think he's not... there's a quote about Vince McMahon about saying, some people like chocolate, vanilla, there's different types of things for wrestling. I like the comedy stuff and I like the Otis stuff, but for me, that's it. He's over here and the Money in the Bank's over here is the way I see, the breakthrough to the main picture is someone else for me. I want they can both continue, just like the Bayley and Sasha thing doesn't need to have the title. We can have both. So please, let's just have both. I don't, and plus he's in a tag team, so that kind of brings up things for me as well. Because
where is your tag partner? Does Tucker exist anymore? Do you still work there? Anyone know?
Yeah.
Anyone check Tucker? Can anyone check on Tucker?
It's a risk, man. It really is a risk for him. I don't want to scare him after the recent releases, but they are putting a lot of focus on Otis, and he could get lost in the shuffle quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually for the men. I don't know. I feel like Aleister Black, again, we spoke about before, Aleister Black kind of losing his shine and rebuilding, and I'm happy to say he is rebuilding. So maybe it would be him as far as getting that level up, but something tells me they brought AJ back for a reason, and it was tough to bring him back anyway with the whole, isn't he meant to be dead type stupidness, That was tough anyway. It needs to follow the stain, even though it wasn't a stain because they pulled it off perfectly, of losing that Undertaker match. You need to. I think he needs to come back and do something. And for me, I think coming to make people not talk about DOC and to not talk about the Undertaker, there needs to be a distraction. And I think him winning the Money in the Bank is that distraction. So that's what I think they might be doing. And my choice would probably be either him or Aleister Black.
Yeah. I see. For me, the biggest issue was, so AJ won to be the final participant, right? Where I feel like now after he lost the Taker, he should have come back. He should have gone on a losing streak, and that would have been a case of that loss to Taker meant something, and now he has to push. So they've done that in another way, and then the Money in the Bank was a lot later. Then he winning that would have been a way for him to try and get a win and a victory. I like that build because it's slow and it's progressive, like how Cena was when he lost to The Rock at Mania way back when. It affected him. But I really don't know. I like the idea of Corbin winning to lose it again, but I don't think they're going to do that.
You really like that idea.
It's so good because, imagine him with the King of the Ring, and he's now got the Money.
Why are you not entering? You've been luchadoring it up today. I'll tell you something. Before we move ahead, I've come up with some names for you, Rob. Right.
Okay.
So now we're going to test how good your Spanish is, guys, as well. Right. Not that mine's great, and pronunciation's probably going to be off. Right. So I've got two options. I want you to pick your favorite, and I want you to tell me what they mean. All right. So, and they're going to be loosely themed on today's show. So you're either going to be called El Banquero or El Rey de Nero.
Right. Who's got to say who they are? Is it me or everyone else?
Whatever you like. You can pick which one you like. But you're
going to tell me what they mean first?
Come on, you got to know. Have a guess.
First one said that bank.
Money in the Bank.
Yeah, so El Banquero is the
The
banker.
banker.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Good thing you used a B, not a W at the
Yeah.
start.
And El Rey Dinero, you might have a clue with Ray. Ray means
Ray's king,
so
yeah.
it's the Money King.
Mm. Oh, the Money King sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's got to sound good in Spanish, mate.
Well, I'll let you do the announcement in Spanish. I'll just take the glory. Have you seen my hair, by the way? Look, it's
I
nice
love
and
it,
fluffy.
mate.
I've got some locks going on.
I like that, mate.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking, who? It's really hard to pick. Like, I don't know. Probably Ray, as you said, Lucas was it's a good shout. It's like you said, it's something he hasn't done. Yeah, that would be my pick, Ray. If Baron, if they ain't gonna go with what we said about Baron Corbin, then Ray for sure.
But Ray,
I think it's quite open though.
It's
I
Ray
think it's quite
chasing
open,
the
though.
title that gets me though. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really see it, especially with who the current champs are.
To be fair, I think Corbin, is going to be the one that gets thrown off the top, because they've been hinting at someone getting thrown off the top quite a while. But then, on the flip side, could we possibly see maybe someone like Daniel Bryan, who potentially might not want to be working the shows that much, get thrown off, and that's a way to like write him off TV for a while. So then, like, say for example, he might, they won't start running shows properly in like arenas with crowds again for the last for the next 6 months or whatever. Then it's a way to kind of write him off TV. And
yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of rumors about Daniel Bryan
definitely.
obviously not being around that permanently. So,
and plus obviously he's got a little bubba on the way, so
good time.
It's due soon, right?
yeah. I think for me though, like as I say, my I think much like Scott was saying, AJ and Aleister Black were probably my two picks, but then I'm thinking I'm going to lean more towards AJ, because I feel as though Aleister Black, the character, would look stupid with a briefcase, and the fact as well of
especially coming up on that thing. It looks so weird.
So yeah, I'm going to go AJ, because then I feel as though the future matches with Drew as well could potentially have like, really good like stock value to them.
Yeah.
So AJ Styles for me is my pick for that one.
Haven't they always picked a good talker as well? And I think Aleister Black, it would, as much as I think the mystique of obviously seeing promos be done in that kind of black room that he has, I think that's a nice mystique kind of thing. I do still think that obviously everything with this is if we're looking at a longer term cash in, so something past Survivor Series, let's say, we're potentially looking at a crowd cash in. I think it's one of those things where he's not the best at promos, and I think it's just such a weakness for Money in the Bank holder to have. I think Aleister Black, if he needs rebuilding, they should look at potentially giving him the US title for a little while and then building him up to a main match later on in the year. He's definitely a guy who I think could do that, but I don't think with Money in the Bank. I don't see it. I'd see AJ with it. I would see him with it, but I just think then they go with Black. But like Rob and Dan, you were both saying, like, AJ must be brought back for a reason. But then you'd have to argue with this Money in the Bank, with Money in the Bank in general, and with this one in particular, you don't really lose, you just don't win, don't you? So there's no, as long as he doesn't take a sort of massive spot, like we say in this roof spot, that potentially is going to happen, then I'd argue that he's kind of in the same place as he was last week. He hasn't won the Money in the Bank, and we continue that way. So I don't think there's necessarily a thing of like, oh, AJ's back now, he has to win. I think they might just want him in it because he would be good for that match, particularly with obviously some of the other people not being the best name value perhaps for that match. But then you've got Daniel Bryan as well, who I guess we only spoke about him getting thrown off the roof. So just to be nice to him, let's potentially look at that avenue where they could potentially, but I don't think so. He's probably the lowest chance, I'd say, of winning. I think we have more chance of Rob's King Corbin losing 2 cash-ins than Bryan winning the Money in the Bank, because he doesn't want to be the main guy anymore. It's very clear as he's winding down, and I think it would be a bit silly to be like, I don't want to be the main guy, but give me the world title.
Yeah.
So who is it you're going for?
Me, Rey Mysterio for men's.
Mysterio.
Yeah.
Awesome. So has everyone picked now? I'm not even sure.
Yeah,
So.
I said AJ. So
it looks like we now have all of our predictions in. So yeah, there we have it.
Looking forward to it.
We have got our predictions in. You know, we want to know what your guys' predictions are as well. So, you know, let us know. Drop a comment in the comment section, which is wherever you're going to edit this. Somewhere
down there, isn't it?
Usually down here or over there somewhere. But you know, climb up the ladder to the comment box, and I'm sure you'll find something there.
Nice.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think. If you're into all this kind of stuff, you know, me and Scott recently sat down and we pretty much did a rebook of the WWE World Cup, but we did it properly. 32 nations represented by 32 guys. Go check it out. You know, what else have you got to do in these times, really? Yeah, but don't forget, keep checking back on Rebellious Noise on YouTube or rebnoise.com. And there is lots more content there for you guys, you know, whether it's wrestling, whether it's football, anything else you want to find. Check us out.
Pie and mash. Oh,
yeah,
hungry now.
So, anyway, thank you guys for joining us as well.
Yeah.
So it's been a pleasure. And let's do this. Let's climb that corporate ladder and let's see who wins.
Woo. We've got a lot more wrestling content coming this year as well, guys. So please subscribe to Rebellious Noise on YouTube. Check out rebnoise.com and check out our podcast, Talking Beans, where we'll be talking about the main wrestling shows as we do throughout the year.